In the winter of 1945, just before Christmas, a family tragedy unfolded that still haunts people to this day. The fire that destroyed the Sodder family's home in Fayetteville, West Virginia, was just the beginning of an even darker mystery that has never been solved. 5 children, presumed dead in the fire, may have survived, vanishing without a trace.
It all started on Christmas Eve, 1945. The Sodder family, George, Jenny, and their 10 children, gathered together in their home to celebrate the holiday. The evening seemed normal until around 1 a.m. when fire broke out. The house went up in flames so quickly that George and Jenny barely managed to escape. But as the fire raged, they could hear their children screaming from the second floor, yet they were unable to save them. When the fire department arrived hours later, the remains of the house were nothing but ashes. The fire was declared a tragic accident. But this was only the beginning of a mystery that would grip the nation, because despite the fire, no bodies were ever found. Here's where things take an eerie turn. The authorities, after combing through the charred remains, declared that the children perished in the fire. But George and Jenny weren't convinced. They couldn't understand why they hadn't found any remains. No bones, no traces of their children. Even more bizarre, a few weeks after the fire, a number of strange events raised serious doubts about the official story. Witnesses claimed to have seen the 5 missing children in the days following the fire. Some said they saw them in a car being driven by an unknown man. And then there was the odd behavior of the local authorities. They seemed too quick to close the case and dismiss any possibility of foul play. What was really going on? Despite the apparent evidence, George and Jenny Sodder refused to believe that their children had died in the fire. They launched their own investigation, determined to uncover the truth. As they searched for answers, things began to get even stranger. They received a series of cryptic phone calls and letters. One letter contained a photo of a young man who looked eerily similar to one of their missing children, along with a note saying, "We have your children. They're alive." The photo was sent from a distant city, far away from where the fire occurred. And then there was the strange disappearance of a man named William Collins, a potential suspect who had been spotted near the Sodder home the night of the fire. Some believed he had something to do with the children's disappearance, but he vanished without a trace just days after the fire. As George and Jenny's investigation deepened, they began to uncover disturbing connections. Local rumors suggested that the fire might not have been an accident at all. Was this an act of arson? Was someone trying to cover up something even darker? Some people believed that the Sodder children were kidnapped as part of a sinister plot. There were theories that the children were taken by human traffickers, or that the fire had been set intentionally to cover up a crime. Even stranger, there were claims that the fire had been sparked by a bomb, not a simple accident. In 1952, an explosive new lead came to light. A former employee of the Sodder family, who had worked for them shortly before the fire, claimed to have seen the children alive, living under an alias in a nearby city. But this lead quickly evaporated, leaving nothing but unanswered questions. The case grew colder over time, but George and Jenny never stopped looking for their children. For years, they kept a billboard up along Route 19 in Fayetteville, offering a reward for information about the missing children. Even after decades, the mystery of the Sodder children has never been fully resolved. In fact, it may never be. What really happened to them? Did they survive the fire? If so, who took them and why? Let's consider some of the wildest theories surrounding this case. Was the fire truly an accident, or was there a deeper conspiracy at play? Many believe the children were kidnapped, but why? Could it have been revenge? Was there someone with a vendetta against the Sodder family? Or was the entire fire just a cover-up for something more sinister? Could it be that the children were being hidden for their safety, or perhaps as part of some darker operation? One thing is certain, the events of that night raise more questions than answers. The disappearance of the Sodder children remains one of the most chilling mysteries in American history. Despite the passage of time, the case is still unsolved, and the truth about what really happened that night may never be known. But one thing remains clear. This isn't just a tragic story. It's a story that's still unfolding. As new information comes to light, the search for answers continues. And the question remains, will the truth ever be uncovered? Or will the fate of the Sodder children remain lost in the shadows forever? Thanks for watching this chilling tale of mystery. If you want to hear more real-life horror stories, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more updates.